So yesterday we told you that the Parliamentarian had ruled that the $15 minimum wage does not pass muster for reconciliation and must be taken out of the COVID relief bill. Now, we clarified, unlike most of the media, that the Parliamentarian actually has no power whatsoever. It just gives an advisory opinion. It's not an actual ruling. The person who does the ruling is actually the presiding chair of the Senate, which normally is the vice president. So Kamala Harris is going to have a huge part in this conversation. Now, once the Parliamentarian gave her so-called ruling, all of the Democrats immediately gave up on $15 minimum wage. As things stand now, they are going to be taken, that provision is going to be taken out of the bill, and we will not get $15 minimum wage for at least 4 years. Now, there is a way to prevent it. There are 4 steps here. I'm gonna walk through all 4 steps, and you will see that if we do this, it's actually very doable to keep it in the bill and to actually win on this issue. But it requires courage from progressives, and then it requires us to put public pressure on some of our allies, and then eventually to the Biden administration and Chuck Schumer. So step 1 is unfortunately right now the most important step, and where we're going to have to call out Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is the chair of the budget committee. The chair of the budget committee decides what is in the COVID relief bill. Bernie Sanders' current plan is to take $15 minimum wage out of the COVID relief bill. That is a terrible idea. He should not do that. If corporate Democrats are going to vote against it, let them vote against it. But doing it on their behalf, I cannot overstate what a bad idea that is. In that scenario, that right now is what is going to happen unless we change it together. Bernie would kill the $15 minimum wage on behalf of Joe Manchin and Joe Biden. He should not do that. So this is step 1. I'm gonna get to the other steps in a second. But guys, I need you to immediately participate. We've got a campaign, we've got a petition, and we've got hashtags. We must do all of the above, and the campaign is called Don't Kill It, Bernie. Because yes, step 1, indisputably, it is a matter of fact, is that the budget chair decides if it goes in the bill. That is Bernie Sanders. That was the whole point of him being budget chair. If he's going to take out $15 minimum wage, that means he will take out every provision that Joe Manchin and Joe Biden are opposed to. That means we will get no progressive priorities passed, none. The $15 minimum wage was literally the bare minimum. It was the first ask of progressives. So Bernie, you've got to keep it in the bill. Because if he does not keep it in the bill, it's over. That hashtag fight for 15, there is no more fight. That means progressives surrendered. I'm being honest with you guys. Our job is to do the news. Those are the facts of how this process works. So go to the petition, all right? And here, let's put it up for you guys. And it's simply called Don't Kill It, Bernie. And what it's saying is we, the undersigned, have a clear message. Don't take it out of the bill. It's 100% your call on whether you keep it in the bill or take it out of the bill. Do not do that, because if you take it out of the bill and you kill it, then we will not be able to get back to it for 4 long years, and there's no reason for it. So, and if you're tweeting about this at all, please use hashtag Don't Kill It, Bernie, because we must get Senator Sanders to turn around. There are no other steps if he takes it out of the bill. Now, if he keeps it in the bill, now let me walk you through how we could actually win on this. Step 2 would be, since it's in the bill, the presiding officer of the Senate would have to rule to take it out of the bill. So Kamala Harris, who in her role as the VP would normally be the presiding officer of the Senate, would have to actively vote with Republicans or side with Republicans. And the Parliamentarian, for what it's worth, again, the Parliamentarian has no vote, no power, just gave a rando opinion on what they think they should do. The Republicans would never care about it. It has no force of law at all. In fact, it's being used as an excuse by Kamala Harris, Chuck Schumer, and the others to kill a provision they were never in favor of. So then we have to put pressure on Kamala Harris to not side with Mitch McConnell. Can we do that? Yes, we can definitely do that. If Chuck Schumer wants to protect Kamala Harris and he puts another senator in as the presiding officer, well, then we'll put pressure on Chuck Schumer. Would he like to continue to be the senator from New York? There are a lot of progressives in New York, very, very strong progressives in New York that could easily take that seat. Not easily, but that could certainly have a shot at taking that seat. So now, here's the most important part. Step 3, if she decides to take it out of the bill, there's nothing we can do about it. Kamala Harris and Chuck Schumer will then actively be saying, okay, we killed the $15 minimum wage because we never wanted it in the first place. But if we get past that step and they go, you win, we're keeping it in the bill. Then Mitch McConnell would object. Mitch McConnell would then say, I want to appeal the ruling of the chair. Now, here's the great news. Since Joe Manchin and Sinema kept the filibuster, and so did Joe Biden, they would need 60 votes to overrule the chair. So that means they need to break our filibuster to overrule the ruling of the chair. They're not gonna get 60 votes. We win. Okay, there is a step 4, but understand before we go to step 4, and step 4 is awesome. But right now, understand how simple it is. We have to pressure Bernie to keep it in the bill. Then we have to pressure Kamala Harris and Chuck Schumer to not side with the Republicans. My God, as a progressive movement, if we can't do that, what can we do? Do we have any power or don't we have any power? We're about to find out. And then step 4 is if the Republicans cannot break the filibuster, then McConnell has one last option. And this is wonderfully ironic. He would have to ask for a 50 vote margin and straight up and down vote to kill the filibuster in regards to the votes of the presiding chair of the Senate. Now, Manchin and Sinema have said that, and Biden have said that the filibuster is the most precious thing in the world to them. So what are they gonna now turn around just to make sure you don't get higher wages? And they're gonna vote to kill the filibuster in this regard? I mean, it would be the most spectacularly hypocritical thing they have ever done. And they've done some pretty hypocritical things. So you put them in a near impossible situation, and it is incredibly doable. But step 1 is do not surrender. Guys, one last thing before we go to John and Jordan. There's $92 billion on the line. This would be a pay raise for about 30 million Americans, and to the tune of $92 billion every single year. The reason why Biden, Manchin, and the Republicans don't want to do it is because the Chamber of Commerce is dead set against it. Those business interests are giant donors to both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. And those donors are saying, I want to keep the $92 billion. I don't want to give it to my workers. I want to keep their wages incredibly low. Now go do my bidding. And they do. Now Bernie is not in that camp, but he's getting pressure from the other Democrats to take it out of the bill. We, in a sense, have to back him up by saying, Bernie, we do not agree. We do not agree. Don't kill it, Bernie, don't kill it. All right, John and Jordan.
Jordan, why don't I let you go first? I have a few questions I want to ask Cenk, but Jordan, you can go first.
I don't want people to lose sight of this was the moderate proposal. I mean, progressives wanted $2,000 monthly checks. Some people called for retroactive monthly stimulus payments. And when that didn't make it into the bill, moderates held up the minimum wage increase as a compromise. This was what everyone should be excited about. And now you have the Democratic establishment saying, okay, it's too risky, we can't do it. And we hear a lot of pandering about the moral imperative to put your neck out, stick your neck out, especially for members of Congress when they're running for re-election. We hear all of this moral pandering about the things that maybe aren't popular or maybe aren't easy, but they're morally just and righteous. And that's what they'll fight for. Well, now is the time to do that. Now is the time to overthrow unjust systems and regulations and rules and ultimately suggestions from a parliamentarian to fight for what's morally right. I mean, we talked about it on Deep Dive last night for a good amount of time. Most of the chat myself, we all know somebody who had to literally sell plasma, their own plasma, to make ends meet. Living paycheck to paycheck. Half of the country is living paycheck to paycheck, and millions of people cannot afford a $500 emergency. This, while not sufficient, is a huge step in the right direction, and we have to fight for it. And that they're unwilling to do that, or that it's just too difficult and not a priority for them, shows like everything about the Democratic class and in Congress at large. So I think it's great that you're fighting for this. I think TYT members and viewers can absolutely get this across the finish line. But there is a deep systemic issue in this country that must be addressed.
Yeah, I would also say one of the most frustrating things is, like, we know that anytime something like this, there's a possibility of it. There's a million different ways that they can try to retreat from it or postpone it or whatever. Saying that it's because of like a deep and abiding respect for the rules, like that is no. When rules are inconvenient for something you want to do, you'll avoid them. If you want to launch airstrikes overseas, damn the procedures, damn the rules, and all of that. Wages are a little bit different, but I think there's a few things that we should make explicit that might not be explicit, or that some people watching this might not understand. So for instance, Cenk, in a lot of the conversation about the parliamentarians ruling and the negotiations and strategizing that's going on around it, you are saying we won't have this for 4 years, but all of the coverage is saying, well, they'll introduce it as a standalone bill. And if Manchin and Sinema are against it outside of reconciliation, we'll just get rid of the filibuster, which are things that people have been talking about. So why is that not something that people should rely on in this case?
So in the second hour, we're gonna have a fuller conversation about all the different options. But that one in particular, John, at this point stands no chance at all. And understand why it's a trick. Because Manchin and Sinema are saying, out of principle, and the media hilariously believes them, they say we will not kill the filibuster under any circumstance. Well, if we go to step 4 in our plan, we'll find out. My guess is in order to do the bidding of the Chamber of Commerce, they might try to kill the filibuster. Manchin might try to kill it. Okay, so now, but if you say you have to kill it in order to get higher wages for the average American, no way Manchin's gonna do it. And so this is your COVID relief bill. This is really important to understand. The COVID relief bill is a must pass. What are Manchin and Sinema gonna do? They're gonna take down the entire COVID relief bill to make sure that Americans do not get higher wages? No, they're not. Call their bluff. Call their bluff. It's insane to fold to that ridiculous bluff. There's no way they're gonna do that. I dare them to do that. There's no way. They're in all of West Virginia and Arizona will be on fire, saying you blocked our checks, you blocked our relief because you wanted us to have lower wages? Oh, come on, Bernie, you gotta be able to call that bluff. If you can't call that bluff, then you shouldn't be in this game. When they put it as a standalone bill, I love that idea. I wanted it, but originally, but it's not gonna work. They have no avenue of putting enough pressure on Manchin and Sinema to cave on the filibuster if it's not attached to a must-pass bill like COVID relief.
Yeah. So the other, you talked through a few of the possible next steps that could happen. So what about the possibility? And honestly, with a bill being passed via reconciliation, I don't even know how that might affect this process. But what about Bernie including it, but it either at the committee level or once it's passed beyond the committee? What about the chance of it being amended out or something like that?
No, so listen, there is nothing until Bernie puts it in the bill. If he doesn't put it in the bill, it's already over and it's gone, and we're never going to see it again. If he puts it in the bill, my understanding is that's the bill they're voting on. So if they want to do an amendment and they want to get Manchin and Sinema on the record as saying no, we're going to actively kill this provision of it, and we will make sure that you're for lower wage, where everybody understands that we're for lower wages. All right, then we'll have that battle at that point, okay? But if it's not part of a must-pass bill, you have no chance at all.
Okay.
And so, by the way, I want to address one more thing because these are good questions. No More Trigonometry wrote in from our member section. We do this show together. I can't fathom Bernie agreeing to take out the $15 minimum wage unless he has some assurances it'll be done in a separate bill. As I just explained, those assurances would be super empty. It doesn't matter if it's done in a different bill. That bill will not pass. I'm gonna tell you the bill that might pass in a second, hold on. I'm not making excuses for him. It should definitely be left in the bill, and he'd be foolish to believe whatever lies they told him. So guys, I've quadruple checked. There is no genius plan B. The plan B is Romney's gonna introduce a bill, yes, Mitt Romney, to make it $10, not $15. And you get that $10 all the way in 2025 if it passes. And by the way, they have a provision in there that, but you've got to punish immigrants in order to pass that bill. Manchin says, well, maybe we could get it to $11, and by the way, the timeline might be even longer. So $15, the minute Bernie takes it out of the bill, it's gone. We do news. It's important for you to know the truth and the reality. It's gone for 4 long years. I don't care what nonsense assurances they gave Bernie. I can see with my own eyes what their plans are. It's in the press, and their plans are at best $11 way later. And it's not. Look, if we kept up with the productivity and inflation, it'd be at $23 an hour now. They're robbing you. They're robbing you. $7.25 is just $15,000 a year if you work every day of the year, Monday through Friday, 40 hours a week, no vacations. You barely make it over $15,000. People cannot live on that. I don't care what state you're in. $15 would move it to $30,000 a year for a full-time job with no vacations. We can't do $30,000 a year. That's what Manchin says, that's what Sinema says, and I can fight them. I cannot stomach Bernie taking it out on their behalf. Hashtag don't kill it, Bernie. Sign the petition. Look, we've done this before. We had a petition as something as simple as having Bernie on the show in 2016. He got 17,000 signatures, he was on the next day. Sign the petition. They care about petitions. Go and use the hashtag, use it all over Twitter, and do not stop. Because it's not at all set right now. The bill is not set. The provision that Bernie has in there now where he's gonna switch it out, and again, we'll talk more about this in hour 2, but I want you guys to know the full context is, and it works with Wyden, et cetera, to say, okay, now we're gonna do a much more complicated runaround around this, and we're gonna try to put that in the bill. So if you're a larger corporation, we're gonna have a tax penalty if you don't get up to that wage. If you're a smaller corporation, we're gonna give you a tax cut to get you up to $15. They have no assurances that anybody's gonna say yes to that. And it's not clear. Everybody can understand $15 minimum wage. Go ahead and try to explain to people, the Parliamentarian did this. So I did a runaround and I did the tax cuts here and tax increases there. No one is going to understand that. It is not going to work. I love you, but it isn't going to work. For God's sake, don't kill it, Bernie. So for anyone who had a question about whether we, like every other show on the planet, have some sort of loyalty to individuals and politicians and their careers over policy, well, you've got your answer now. I don't care who it is. The only thing that matters is policy. Bernie, you fought for it for 40 years. Finish it. Don't pull it at the last second because Manchin and Biden want you to do it. Because then you're left holding the bag. I'll leave it on this, guys. I guarantee that if Bernie takes it out of the bill, later they'll say it was his fault. It was Bernie Sanders and the progressives who killed $15 minimum wage. I've seen that movie 1,000 times. No. If they're gonna kill it, let them kill it. Put the corporate Democrats on the record, but we can't do any of it if Bernie takes it out of the bill. You're a budget chair for a reason. Let's go. We've got a progressive in a position of power. Let's use that power. Otherwise, we have no right to complain. And by the way, again, it's not just $15 minimum wage. That means all of our priorities are dead. We could not get to step 1. This was supposed to be the easiest thing on the progressive priority list. If we cannot get the easiest one, that means all of our priorities are dead for 4 years. One last thing. On top of that, that means the Democrats are almost certainly gonna lose in 22 and 24. They said they would do this. It was a core promise. Immediately, they turn around and go, we were lying. We're never gonna do it. You're never gonna have higher wages. And even the progressives agreed that you shouldn't have higher wages. Then you're guaranteed losses. And I'm not willing to lose to fascists. I'm not willing to lose to Republicans. That's why we've got to draw the line in the sand and fight right now.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.